Scudder, my brother, what's happening?
Hey, fantasy, it's session. We talking touchdowns, receptions, interceptions. They got a band and kicker, we need that correction. Swap them out, we flexing. How many of y'all you collect? We tryna get that winning record. Fantasy, it's session. Fantasy, it's session. Fantasy.
You
And we back.
What it is, hope is what it should be. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy in Session, the podcast. Today is July the 23rd, and the boys are back in town. We got a special guest with us here today. We got my boy Bob Long from. Hold on, let me bring him on right quick. There we go. We got my boy Bob Long on with us today. We want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Give you a little bit of introducing ourselves. But we're going to first give our 8-second moment of silence out for all the victims from police brutality out there. That's something we do every episode. So we want to go ahead and give a moment of silence out to those families and friends. And we back. All right, but yeah, man, thanks to the one and only Bob Long. Man, I can't thank you enough for all that you've done for us, man. We want to just appreciate you. And anytime that you're on the show, like we said, man, you're a good friend of the session. So, man, we're glad to have you back, man. How you been? What's been going on?
Whew, man, I am busier than an ugly stripper right now. It's just out of control. This expo it's just blowing my mind of how big it's gotten. And we're only 3 weeks from tomorrow. 3 weeks from this weekend, basically. But man, I'm so excited. Everybody's so excited. We're getting close to 400 people, gang. It's gonna be crazy, but a good crazy and a lot of fun. A lot of everybody's been wanting to get out of their house, go meet people, hang out. So man, this is gonna be a perfect opportunity. If you've not signed up, boy, make sure you get here to Canton, Ohio, because you're gonna miss out if you don't.
I hear what a lot of people are saying is they have like best friends that they've never met, and now we're about to get the first.
Oh yeah, no, think about how many people we know from the Twitter world that we've never met face to face. Javar and I were playing in a Madden league for over the last couple of years. We've done the in session here. Oh, and you ready for this, Javar? Guess who I heard from today? Guess who's coming to town for the Expo?
Who?
Isaiah. From the Chicago Bears guy.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's funny. I didn't even know his name until you
said.
You
didn't know his name. I'm sorry. I thought you knew his first name. Yeah. So the Chicago Bears dude, Isaiah.
That's who I still keep in contact with about the leagues that's going on. So, man, this is going to be great. Oh, man.
Yeah. So he texted me today and he goes, "Hey, guess what? I'm coming to the Expo." And I'm like, and he goes, "I'm bringing the wife, kids. It's going to be a big weekend." And I'm like, "Dude, that's fantastic. I'm so excited." And I forgot to tell him I was going in your show. So I have to text him back and say, "Hey, man, I was on with Javar." And I told him that you were coming in town. So, yeah, it's going to be wild. So, yeah, Isaiah's coming to town. And I have a company that I work for that the company I work for had a division out in Chicago. So I actually went to dinner with him a couple of times when I was out there, and we've been chatting. But yeah, he hit me up today, so he's coming in town for the Expo too. So it's gonna be awesome.
That's great. I talked a lot with him, even with the football. Like even we in competition together, he's still giving a lot of pointers. I just knew he was a cool down to earth person. So
that boy knows his stuff about winning some Madden leagues. That's for sure. What do you make 6 straight Super Bowls and one
right. Right. I'm like, he's still helping me making the Super Bowl, winning all the money, but he's still trying to, hey, you got a good team. I had Patrick Mahomes and I couldn't get it together, man.
Didn't he win like with Mr. Trubisky or something like that? Didn't he say that was the number one quarterback?
Mr. Trubisky looked like Patrick Mahomes in the sim games, man. It was crazy.
It was crazy, yeah. I had some no-name rookie not even like it was a Madden simulated player, and I went like 12-4, made the playoffs, and it's a really. That's why I got frustrated with it. It's like guys who have Patrick Mahomes on their team, he's throwing as many interceptions as touchdowns, and my guy's only throwing maybe one touchdown at it, but he's running the ball and no turnovers. I had Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson had like 32 interceptions that 1 year. Like, come on, guys.
Deshaun Watson is broke in the sim league.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible how bad he was.
He'll do. He like Dwayne Haskins. He'll do one good play, then turn right back around, and it was horrible.
Yeah,
man. It's time, man. Football is back. You know, I know we talking about all this fake football. You know, simulated football. We now training camps. I think the Falcons go next week, but training camps. That's the only team I care about right now until like fantasy.
Right. Yeah, starting soon.
Yeah, man.
You pulling up? You say you going? You going?
I'm going. Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there as strictly a fan. I don't want to take any notes. I'm just going to be there to analyze my team, whether to get my hopes up or just, you know what I'm saying, keep them at a medium pace. Because I don't know if you know this, Bob, but I'm heartbroken and I haven't been able to get over it yet. Julio is very dear to me. I got a lot of Julio jerseys in my closet that I really don't understand what I'm going to do with it. And I haven't fully processed it yet. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't really clicked, you know, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be an emotional day when I go out there to see the Falcons with no Julio. So I think we need a moment to myself, you know?
And hearing this, Gabe has a Falcon tattoo. He probably got that tattoo because of Julio.
Good thing you didn't get like number 11 underneath it, so you didn't have to worry about that part.
Fun story.
Like getting that ex-girlfriend trying to take it off. You're like, gotta get rid of it.
Fun story before we get to the show. If the Falcons would have closed out that game that we should not mention, that was I was going to expand the tattoo with a Julio holding like the
Super Bowl trophy.
Yeah.
But if he would have won me a Super Bowl, if he would have won me a Super Bowl,
that would have been all right because that would have been a great memory.
At least you wasn't like, what was that? It was a fan that drew the trophy on before somebody won a championship, and luckily, I think did they lose or so? I don't know. However it went. So luckily, you won that.
Didn't they do the Titans Super Bowl champion thing? Yeah. Was it the Titans that somebody did? That's what I would think. I was thinking somebody did the Titans with the Super Bowl like in October. It's like,
remember when Jason Terry put the tattoo of the trophy on his arm before he even won it? That was crazy.
Yeah, that was bold too.
He got dirt. But anyway, man, let's get into the show, man. Like I said, we got some actual news here today. Well, the Slentosaurus Rex, that's what I like to call him, aka Michael Thomas. He found out about some ligaments, you know, that we were talking about that he should have knew about, I guess, you know, that he would have known about because that's why he was hurt last year. But apparently he didn't know about him, or somebody didn't know about him 2 weeks before training camp started. And so he has said that he's going to miss a couple weeks. Nobody knows what that really means.
I think it's more like a couple months because they said it's a 4-month process.
What?
Yeah, it's more than a couple weeks.
So let me start, Bob. Who do you think is affected most by Michael Thomas not being there for the first couple months, negatively or positively?
Well, positively, obviously, Traquan Smith moves in, but I really believe that they're going to have to go out and get somebody. I don't think Traquan Smith can be your wide receiver 1. I mean, he's a good wide receiver 2 or 3 because of his speed and, you know, ability to kind of spread the field, but he's not an underneath catch kind of guy. So I don't know who they're going to get. I don't know who the best options are out there. I mean, I saw things like
I have a couple.
I heard Golden Tate, and I'm like, God, I hope not.
Right. The options are not good. Alshon Jeffrey, maybe Kenny Stills, Larry Fitzgerald, Dez Bryant, Marquise Lee, D.D. Westbrook, Danny Amendola, Tavon Austin, Seth Roberts, name like that. So
yeah, right. So not good. So there's really not a number 1 to take spot. So
right.
So you know, the quarterback situation that certainly makes it tougher for them. You know, I don't know what they're going to do with the Winston Hill company. And to be honest with you, other than Kamara, I've pretty much stayed away from that team anyway. I keep keeping Kamara because they've got to use him as much as they can. He's going to get, you know, I think I forget I don't know if I saw the stats, but I know there was something out there already about, you know, when Thomas was out, how much Kamara was involved and how much more he was involved. So my thought is he's going to continue to benefit, and rightfully so. But, you know, I think an Adam Trotman could be a nice sleeper pick at your tight end. He's going to get the ball a little bit more. You know, maybe
I've seen a couple of Adam Trotman hype videos today on Twitter.
That's who I'll be going off. He's really cheap. You could probably get him off waivers in your dynasty team.
Right.
But people, it's close. It's too close to the season now. He's on somebody's team. Yeah, his price just went up. You probably could have got – people didn't want to trade him for a second, so it's going to be hard to get him right now. He's looking he's in a prime position. He might be the best route runner out there out of all the guys out there, Kamara. So I can see some value in there. One person, I think this affects Latavius Murray. He may get a lot more burn now because they're gonna need another weapon or somebody else to get the ball to, to try to make something happen without Thomas there. So this could give Latavius Murray a tick to where he was a handcuff. He might even be a flex play now some weeks because of this. But
I was going to say they could easily put Latavius in the backfield for blocking purposes and spread Kamara out in a slot or, as an extra wide receiver. So definitely agree with that.
Do you think that so coming into this year, I thought, LASIK surgery, Jameis Winston was going to be a big deal. I know a lot of people make fun of his workout videos. Even I laugh at them because they're hilarious. But I do think Jameis Winston was a first overall pick for a reason, and I think he's competent enough. He threw 30 interceptions and still won me a fantasy championship.
Right. No, yeah, right. Yeah.
What are you going to do? So if he could just and he was blind then, so he's not blind and he throws like half of those, like 15, still 30 touchdowns, I'll take that. So, but now without Michael Thomas though, how do you think that affects Jameis Winston? Like, are you staying away now? Because I was aiming for him a lot of in Superflex leagues, like quarterback 2, maybe quarterback 3.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. No, I think he would have been a great pick if Thomas could have stayed healthy and would be healthy. And he still may be a decent pick. Like you said, now maybe in a super flex league, you can get Winston as your quarterback 3. Maybe second half of the year, maybe he will be filling that spot that your number 2 quarterback didn't fill and getting you some fantasy garbage points that'll get you through. And kind of like he did, like you said, a couple years ago when, he would get you 30 points a game because he was throwing 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. As long as you're not in like Scott Fishbowl, which I think they give like -4 for interceptions. Yeah, that could be painful. But yeah, no, I mean, I think there's potential there. It's just what it depends on Sean Payton. Like I said, I don't like that Taysom Hill thing at all. I think it's stupid. I don't get it. But it's, it's Sean Payton's baby and he loves playing around with that kind of stuff, being tricky, being different. Yeah, it kind of works, but more often than not, it doesn't.
I used to have this saying that a year that Jameis went with the 30 interceptions, if he didn't throw an interception within that first quarter, like it was going to be a bad game.
Yeah,
man. I was at some points I was like hoping that he did
throw 3 touchdowns in the first half, and you're like, oh, good, and then you throw 3 interceptions to make up for it.
That's why I knew it was going to be bad. You got to throw the interception first. Jameis got to come out there, throw 1 interception, first play of the game. Boom. Yes, and now we up. Jameis Winston for the win.
With Thomas there, I was buying in. I was liking Jameis without without Thomas there. Like Bob was saying, head coach Sean Payton is liable to do anything now. He's going to use Taysom Hill a lot more now because he needs another weapon. He needs to manipulate the defense to try to score more without Thomas there. So now I'm a lot more worried about Jameis now and his playing time because Hill is going to get some playing time just to try to trick the defense so they can score. That's that whole quarterback situation. I'm gonna shy away from. I might take Sam Darnold now before Jameis.
Of course, Taysom Hill could play more wide receiver too. He is a wide receiver as well, but he's not that good.
My last thing on them before we leave, man. I've been waiting a long time for the Saints to be sorry as a Falcons fan, and like I know I don't like, what I'm saying. I'm not at him being injured per se, but like Drew Brees retiring, I've been waiting on that day for a very long time, and now like the whole Saints, the Saints are marching down. So I'm really not that bad.
But they still play in the same division as Tampa?
Right. That's what I'm looking like. Breeze is going.
Didn't Breeze get replaced by Brady? I don't hate. You know who's in the rest of the division, right?
I don't hate Tampa though. Tampa is in my eyes is like not real. Like
I don't hate Tampa.
I hate them.
I don't hate Tampa, but I hate Brady, and Brady played for Tampa, and I don't want them winning nothing. I don't want nobody in my division winning. The only person I was fine with winning in our division was Carolina when they had Steve Smith and Cam Newton. I love Steve Smith and Cam Newton from Atlanta, so I had some type of favoritism. But everybody else, I don't care about. So, it's cool. Saints might be sorry. They're going to be sorry, but Brady is still in Tampa Bay, and I am not liking it. Brady was at another conference.
All 22 starters. Speaking of another quarterback that's great in his own right, Aaron Rodgers, he's still out in limbo. And now today we got the news that apparently the Packers and Devontae Adams have cut off contract negotiation deals. He apparently wanted to be the number one wide receiver paid, which I think he should be. And they said no. So now they don't have a number one QB or number one wide receiver potentially. This affects a lot of people, especially me, because I'm dependent on Devontae Adams to pull me through a lot of teams. So I'm pretty sad.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I'm thinking is going on in Green Bay. They're thinking Rodgers isn't coming back. And if he's not coming back, why should we pay? Basically at that point, they become a rebuilding team. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to be a rebuilding team, why would you pay Devontae Adams the biggest money in sports right here and as a wide receiver when he's only going to be worth 2-3 years to you, maybe at best? Might as well trade it, maybe get a couple of first rounders. You got Jordan Love and you got Aaron Jones, who's fairly young, and you just go on a building spree. And it's a business decision. I don't think they don't like Devontae Adams. But now if Rodgers comes back, Rodgers says, okay, I'm going to play, but you're going to sign me to a big money and you're going to give Devontae big money for this year, at least a couple years, and we'll see what we can do. I think they would pay him, but they're not going to pay him if Rodgers isn't going to play. It just doesn't make any business sense. It does make sense from a team standpoint and from selling jerseys and putting butts in seats, but they don't have that problem in Green Bay. They have a waiting list 10 years long for season tickets. They don't care. Because my buddy is on that list and he gets a card every year that says, you're number 3,045. And he's just going to buy the tickets and probably sell them, but he just likes to be on the list. But every year he gets a postcard of how far he's moved up. And that's how far he's had that for 5 years now, and he's down to 3,000. So they sell out regardless. It doesn't matter to them. So it's not like, Cleveland where you got to beg people to come to games when you're bad.
What else is there to do in Green Bay?
Exactly, right. Exactly. So it's a business decision. Nobody likes it, but it's a business, and that's where they're running. And,
I think the Green Bay Packers organization is a lot of bit of spoiled when it comes to quarterbacks, because this is the second time that they're handling an icon quarterback like it ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Brett Favre back then, he'd leave your team and he should have went to another Super Bowl, but that's another thought. But it's like you letting players walk in their prime that can help you. Especially Rodgers lost to the Super Bowl champion last year.
Right.
Arguably a couple throws away from going, and like, what are you doing here as an organization? Like, they just doing moves, drafting a quarterback in the first, a running back in the second. Like, what are you doing? Like, were you rebuilding last year, but then you win it? So like, they're in a mixed place. I feel like they were trying to rebuild last year. Now they did all this year, and they don't know what they want to do. And as a fan, I would be irritated and really mad at them because he's so close to a Super Bowl, and if Rodgers leave and go to a Super Bowl or something like that, it's gonna be so much backfall in that organization. But they bounce back. I want to know. I'm just looking at the team from now. Rodgers is gone. Devontae Adams might not be there. What are we doing with this team as fantasy? Do we just buy in on the run game? Are they just going to try to run the football so A.J. Dillon is more valuable now? Or
listen, don't let Javar trick you. Javar is trying to talk A.J. Dillon up so bad. He wants somebody else to say A.J. Dillon is good so bad so he can say, "Oh, look at Bob Long's I can sell him for a second."
Listen, it makes sense.
He's been trying to sell people on A.J. Dillon. Go ahead.
Bob is a Cleveland Browns fan. He sees it, and he's seen it every Sunday. What did they do? Play good defense and try to run the football
with two players,
Green Bay
and Hunt.
Right. And Green Bay has a good defense. Last year, their defense played very well. So going into this year, without their offensive power, they're going to try to play good defense. And McCarthy is going to run the football and try to figure out some ways. So it's I already see A.J. Dillon as like a flex play now. because Jamal.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna argue with you because I've drafted Aaron Jones in every freaking league I've done this summer. Every league. I have him in every. I mean, I just think regardless of. It's mostly because I'm getting him such a good value. Like I'm drafting Aaron Jones in the second round. Sometimes, like I've done like picking 8th or 9th, and I get Chubb or Jonathan Taylor or Zeke or whoever falls to that spot, and then coming back and getting Aaron Jones. And it's like I think he's going to touch the ball a ton, regardless of who's quarterbacking, and maybe even more if Jordan Love is the guy. Yes, I do believe they'll bring in Dylan a little bit more because they'll focus more on the run. Whether or not he'll be a flex-worthy player, maybe. Depends on the running defense they're going against. But, yeah, I mean, I definitely see them running a lot. Couldn't agree more.
What if Jordan Love come out? That'd be great.
This is definitely north for your Aaron Jones shares for sure. He's going to be like Kamara. He's going to be if Devontae Adams and Rodgers. He's going to be the focal point of the team.
Yeah, exactly.
And AJ Dillon is going to get some carries. I just want to know what they're going to do at the goal line because it just sets up where AJ Dillon should be the guy there on the goal line.
He's got the size for it. That's for sure.
He got the quads for it. Yeah, you're right.
He got the quads, exactly.
Got the quads for it.
Speaking of somebody else who got the quads for it, Saquon Barkley. They say he's going to start the season on the physically unable to perform list. So that's pretty shocking for a lot of the Saquon Barkley owners out there that were depending on Saquon. Well, I think he still starts week 1, but he's like being real nonchalant about it. He's not letting anybody in on it. He's telling people, hopefully he is, or, stuff like that. So do you think he starts week 1? I do.
I do too, and I'll tell you what, it's interesting to bring that up because just a couple weeks ago, I just happened to be driving in the car, listening to Fantasy Sports Radio on Sirius XM, and Stefina Bell from ESPN was on there, and she was being interviewed by the guys, I forget which show it was Jeff Manns or whoever, and they asked about Barkley, and she said, oh, no, there's no doubt about it, he's probably going to start on the PUP, but it's really just a precautionary, and then she said the same thing about Prescott. They're both coming back from, significant injuries, and they both just need some time. It's not that they're going to start the season. They're not, because if you start the season, the actual first game then you're out a minimum 6 or 8 games.
Yeah.
They're talking about being on PUP for preseason, which is just, okay, they can come back whenever they want. They don't have to practice. I don't know what special rules and why they do it. If they can have more, I don't know. Anyway. But she said, yes, both of these players will be probably on the PUP for preseason. Don't worry about it. They'll be fine. It's just precautionary. And don't let it, they're going to be okay. So, yeah, I heard that from her. So if anybody we can trust, we know we can trust Stefina Bell when it comes to injury stuff.
Yeah, man.
I'm buying it. Both of those players is the heart and soul of the team, The oil in the engine, the gas in the tank. So it's understandable that they're going to protect them. And yeah, they should be there week 1.
I think they should be.
I'm drafting Barkley.
Yeah, I got
Barkley.
I've been waiting to use Saquon Barkley on my dynasty team since I drafted him. So that'll be pretty cool if he ever decides he wants to play. So
yeah, I hear you.
Let me know. Just let me know. Amari Cooper also is starting to camp on the PUP list also. I think that's about all I see.
All right, so Cooper throughout his whole career, he always played with injuries. It's his 6th year. He's 27. Are we getting worried now? Because this every season we're not worried. I mean, he's always played through it.
I'm not worried. I mean, he always, he has his bumps and bruises, but I mean, he played all 16 games last year, I thought. I mean, I thought he did.
Let's see. Yeah, Sleeper got him playing all 16. He's actually played all 6. He's actually played all 16 games all his career. At least,
I mean, I think he's one of those guys that gets dinged up in games and misses some of them, but seems to come back the next week. Maybe too soon, maybe not. But yeah, I think he's pretty durable. At least toughs it out and gets out there and plays. I mean, he's not like Odell who'd sit out. He would like tweak a hamstring and sit out 4 games. As a Browns fan, it upsets me. That's what I'm saying.
Are you a believer in Odell this year? Do you think he bounces back?
I believe in Odell's value this year because I'm drafting Odell as like my 4th receiver sometimes, and that's ridiculous. Now that I can deal with. I wouldn't draft him as my 1st receiver, but I have no problem putting him as my 3rd or 4th receiver because if he has a down year like he did last year and gets injured again, then I miss out on something, but I could probably replace him with my number 4, number 5 receiver. So getting him from a value standpoint, yes. Am I expecting him to be Odell from 3 years ago? No. But just because of the offense. As you mentioned before, the Browns are run first, run second, pass on third. Maybe Odell's open, maybe Landry's open, whatever. We'll throw it, enough to keep the ball moving. But they're not going to be heaving the ball around a lot unless they play Dallas again, and Dallas couldn't hold them to 49 points.
While we talk about Cleveland, last year episode, I re-listened to it, and we was talking about Chubb. We was like, Chubb, he's going to get the ball, but he's not going to be that cutthroat top 8 back because of Hunt, because they're going to run the ball, but we don't think they're going to run enough. And look, they read the ball. So what if this year we say, it's not going to be enough passing, and then boom, they let Baker cook a little bit. That I'm just saying that would be funny.
I mean, I think Stefanski appears to be smart enough to, not be predictable, and I think that's what's important with this team is you have the talent that if the teams stack the box and say, okay, we're going to stop Chubb. Okay, fine. We've got Landry, we've got Hooper, we've got Odell. Heck, even Rashad Higgins isn't a bad 3rd wide receiver. So they've got the talent. Baker's good enough. He can get the ball off quickly. The offensive line is one of the best in the NFL now, which is something I haven't said about Cleveland in, 50 years. So that's important. So, just a lot of good things going on there. And now we'll see if they put it all together.
The defense, too.
Yeah, defense is going to be very good as well.
One more on Baker. So we have a fantasy in session pod to where it's like a courtroom session, and we bring fantasy players to trial. Somebody brought up Baker Mayfield, and they tried to sell to us that it's a possibility he can end the year as a quarterback 1. And we were just
on Cleveland's team, he'll be the quarterback 1. That's the only place he's going to be the quarterback 1. That's as far as it goes.
That's all I need to hear.
Yeah. He's going to be a very good NFL quarterback now that they have him, in this bubble. But he's not what he was in college. He's not, he can't do that in the NFL. You get killed or you throw interceptions or you make bad decisions. The NFL moves way too fast. Now that Stefanski has him kind of structured, knows what the plays are, makes good, clean, crisp passes. But when he starts running around, that's where it gets a little scary. Luckily, he's got somebody like Landry and Odell that can, move to the ball and make it. But, he is not going to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game and win football games. That's not him. But I think he can be a good NFL quarterback and help take the Browns to the playoffs and hopefully farther. But no, he is not going to be a QB1 in fantasy because it's just not the game plan there.
This is first time having the same coordinator in back-to-back years, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't mention that either about Baker.
Last question, then I'll let you move on, Gabe. As a Cleveland Browns fan, you're finally out of that brown paper bag. How does it feel? Do you walk around differently, or when somebody talk about the Cleveland Brown fan, are you feeling a little different? Oh, let me hop in this talk.
It's interesting. After last year, I shouldn't say that. 2 years ago they went in with all that. You remember the hype that they had, and and then they first game against the Titans, they got their asses handed to them because I know I was at that game. That preseason when we had had all this, Beckham's there, Baker, and just off the charts. And the funny thing was there was an age breakdown, so an age line. Anybody under the age of 35 said we're going to the Super Bowl. Everybody over the age of 35 were like, we'll be happy if we make the playoffs. and then we sucked. And that kind of, kind of deflated that balloon to now it's like, okay, now we're feeling comfortable. That's the thing. You never feel comfortable as a Browns fan, ever. If they're 4 seconds away from winning the Super Bowl and they're up 20, I won't feel comfortable.
Hey.
Let's not talk about that.
Preach it to the choir.
I've been through too much.
I don't want to
between the Indians and the Browns, I've seen everything. Oh, and the Cavs. I've seen everything, from the fumble, the drive, the shot, whatever, you name it. I've seen that. And so, as a 57-year-old, I just sit there and go, make the playoffs, beat the Steelers twice. That pretty much makes my season. If you get anything more than that, that's gravy. It's just, that's just an extra shot, at the end of the night. I saw somebody had them down for 13-4 for the record this year. I'm like, whew, I would, if somebody wants to give me 13 and I'll take the under every day of the week.
Every day.
But, it's like, I'm excited, every Browns fan's excited. We had a very good draft. From top to bottom, a lot of good quality for depth and personnel. There's going to be some excitement, it'll be there. Some will be too much. Under 35 will be way too high. Over 35 be like, we'll be sipping our drink going, okay, they're having a good game. Chubb's running well, because you never know. Chubb gets hurt or Baker gets hurt. I mean, it's just, I never get comfortable. Never get comfortable. But I'm excited. Yes, I'm still happy that the Browns, at least we don't have to wear bags. I agree.
As an old school, I like old school football with the play defense and run, and run. So I like watching the games because they play defense very well, and the running game is legit. So I like watching.
Well, and they have 3 good teams in their division that's going to push them. I mean, even the Bengals aren't. I mean, they're not terrible. They have a good offense. I mean, again, those games could be 50-49 every game, but they'll be fun to watch. The Steelers will always be competitive. The Ravens will be competitive. It's going to be a tough division. I think anybody who comes out of there with 10 wins, 10-7 could win that division. So.
I don't know what the Falcons are going to do. We're just going to try to watch football, you know what I'm saying? Just every day. Just what I'm going into it with.
Look. How Bob say he felt after Cleveland, just went out and with a crapshoot that year after they had so much hype. That's how I feel as a Falcon fan right now. It's we can't do no worse than last year, so it's just sit back and I can watch the football game with no expectations, I guess.
Well, you guys got a new coach, right?
Yeah, we got the OC from Tennessee.
Arthur Smith.
Oh, Arthur Smith. Okay. Yeah, so should be, I could see Mike Davis being be a beneficial guy.
For how long though?
But their defense is the problem is Falcons' defense is pretty poor, right?
Oh yeah, but we got Dan Peeves though as a defense coordinator now.
Okay.
Ain't got no players, so we're gonna see. The Falcons' defense is always as good as our offense. If the offense can control the ball a little bit or get up by 2 scores, it helps us.
Not true. We were up by like 20 points at times last year and losing to the Cowboys on an onside kick. So
all right. Enough about last year, Gabe.
Speaking of, I think we can start with Mike Davis. Speaking of consistent, I talked to whoever wants to talk to me about Mike Davis being a good running back. Pretty much. I tell them last year, I don't know which Mike Davis they were watching. A couple of Mike Davis games he did pretty good, but he's not going to get that running. He's not going to get that volume in Atlanta. And 2, we saw what happens when he had the volume for over the length of the season. He started to tail off toward the end of the season. Toward the end of the season, you weren't happy unless he played the Falcons. Those 2 times he played the Falcons, you weren't happy that you had Mike Davis on your team. And so I think a lot of people forget that. And I think a lot of people say, oh, man, of course, he put a quiet picture out. And so now everybody's like, oh, man, I remember Mike Davis did take over for CMC. I think I did remember him being like in the top 12 a couple of weeks out of that little stretch. And then they don't remember what happened at the end of the year. And so I think a lot of people have a lot of false hope on what Mike Davis is going to be. How do you feel about that?
I mean, so, last year, so I documented in the guide under Davis that in the games that he played that McCaffrey was not in, because there were some games that they played because McCaffrey got hurt, and then he came in during the game. But in the games that McCaffrey was not in at all, he was 67% consistent. That's not bad for where you're getting him at. What you're getting him as your RB2 or 3. My thought is he's going to get 60 yards rushing, maybe a touchdown, maybe catch 3 or 4 balls. I mean, if he can get 12, 15 points a week, that's a clutch game, and that's consistency. Now, he's not going to set your team on fire, but he should be your flex guy anyway, unless you went like heavy, some weird scoring where you went heavy tight end or wide receiver. He's probably going to be your running back 3. I think it would be a very solid, consistent player in that role. And I think they're smart enough not to use him too much. But, Ito Smith's still there, right? Ito Smith will come in, maybe spell him a little bit.
No, Ito Smith is not there no more.
Oh, Ito's out? Okay, sorry.
Padre and
Hawkins.
we got that. No, we didn't draft it. Undrafted.
Okay. So, again, they don't have much to replace him. So my thought is that, it's going to be probably a pass first, run second offense. Let's be honest. Why would you not when you have Ridley, Pitts, Gage, Okabe? Yeah.
I'm not going to mess up his name either.
Yeah. The third receiver, we can't pronounce his name. And so my thought is they're going to throw the ball, keep teams, and then they'll run. Maybe if they get a lead, then they run Mike Davis a little bit more. But again, if he can just pop off 60 yards and a touchdown every week, hell, that's 12 points. That's good enough. And that's really what I'm expecting from him. I'm not expecting him to be top 12 in scoring, but I expect him to be top 15 in consistency, which 67% would be that. That's not bad for a running back 2 or 3. And I think that's what, if we keep our expectations at that spot, I think Mike Davis will meet that. If we think Mike Davis is going to be more than that, you might be disappointed.
I just think Gabe don't like hearing about Mike Davis or anybody that has quads. Because I don't think anybody's really been talking Mike Davis up like, he's this guy that just like at his ADP, he's a great pickup at his ADP,
Right. Yeah.
He controls the backfield. It's going to be some weeks where he's might win you a game, some weeks because he's going to fall in some pay dirt a couple of times, but he just controls the backfield on a team that has to score a lot. And that means a lot of red zone opportunities. And if the Falcons can be more efficient in the red zone, that's the limit for everybody on that offense. I feel like he's going to outplay his ADP just because look what Gurley did, and Gurley is half of what Mike Davis.
Yeah, right. He was. Right.
That's the only thing. That's why I got excited. Like, oh, look what Ty Gurley did on one leg. Mike Davis could do a lot more than that. So. I always say that the guide will bring out the consistency guide will always bring up players that people don't get excited about. So they don't draft. They want the shiny new toy. Like the perfect example would be like for about 4 years, Jarvis Landry, regardless when he played Miami or Cleveland, was always drafted. I always drafted him as my wide receiver 3. And every year he was 75% consistent. He was top 20 in scoring. He didn't set the world on fire, but he got you 12, 15 points a week. And he was there for you. And you had him as your wide receiver. I had him as my wide receiver 3. And then the next year, I think, okay, everybody's going to be on a Landry. Everybody's going to see that, he was consistent last year. He was really helpful. No, same thing next year. Same thing the next year. I mean, this year's no different. You can get Landry as your wide receiver 4. Now, he wasn't as consistent last year, obviously, just because with Beckham out, there's just a lot of, things going on there. But, again, if I can get him as my wide receiver 4 or 5, maybe, I'm not going to draft Beckham and him, but if I can get one of those two guys, I mean, it's those boring people that outperform their ADP that will help you win games. And at the end of the year, like, well, how did he do that? Oh, he had Landry. Well, he had a lot of boring players. And then you realize, oh, those boring players are pretty consistent and they helped you out. So I think Mike Davis can be that boring guy, and I'm more than happy to have him.
I got another. You got a boring guy, Javar? Because I was looking through.
I wanted to ask him. I guess I probably already know the answer to this question because I read the consistency guide. Because I've been yelling a lot of Mike Davis over Myles Gaskin, but looking at your guide, I should be yelling Myles Gaskins over Mike Davis.
Yeah, I mean, Gaskin had a very nice when he was getting the ball, when he was getting the touches, he was very consistent in that time frame. What is he, 80%, I think, was his numbers for the year, which is not bad. I mean, actually, that's very good. I mean, to be that high. And I think a lot of people kind of forgot about that he was that good. They brought in Malcolm Brown, who has always been a backup. So, I mean, he's not going to save the world. And again, Gaskin's just another one of those boring guys, kind of people like, oh, yeah, he was okay. But, the numbers speak for themselves. 8 out of 10 in those 10 games he played, he was 80% consistent. I mean, he was almost top 24 and he missed 6 games. That's pretty impressive. And this guy's getting zero love. I mean, you can get him as your RB3. So,
as soon as they didn't draft another running back, I was all in on Myles Gaskin. As soon as they didn't draft another running back in Miami, I was like, oh, I'm all in on Myles Gaskin.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, same thing. Same thing as like Atlanta. They didn't go out and get a guy, so you got to believe that, Brian Flores is all over him. So,
I noticed when I was going through the running backs, the fantasy Twitter community world is feel a lot different on one particular player, Antonio Gibson, than the consistency guide. And I think the only thing does the guide or the numbers run into play how bad like the offense was last year, the quarterback play, interceptions, so he may get more opportunities. Thanks. Do that interplay in there, or is that why he's so low?
So I have the opposite attitude. My attitude is that their quarterback play was so bad. Gibson was their offense. They gave him the ball so much because if they had to put the game in Haskins' hands, they were in trouble. So Gibson touched the ball a lot. So there he made his numbers, which again, he was 13th in total points, which is great. But again, let's look at consistency, only 57%. And that's with all of those opportunities he was getting because they had a bad quarterback. Now you add Fitzpatrick at quarterback, you add Curtis Samuel. So now you've got somebody at least decent on the opposite side of McLaurin. Logan Thomas was starting to kind of come into his own. All of a sudden, you have a team that can move the ball. Now, Gibson will will get more touchdowns, but I don't see, there's people his ADP right now is RB12, and I can't put him ahead of Chris Carson, David Montgomery, CEH, some of these guys. I can't do it. He didn't do enough to prove to me that on this team that he can be a RB1. I can't buy into it. And now again, I know lots of arguments, but that's just my opinion.
Does JD McKissick have to go into it? Does JD McKissick?
McKissick obviously caught a lot of balls too last year. Again, that was kind of part of their offense because they were always playing. I guess they weren't always playing them behind, but they have a very good defense. They play against a bunch of crappy teams outside of Dallas. I think Gibson could match the 13th in total points, but I feel like his consistency is still going to be in that 50-60% range. That's not an RB1. RB1, you need to be 70 plus, and I just can't put him there yet.
Seen on the list, you're high on Hines, and this is a very fresh argument I had the other day where I was trying to convince, like, hey, J.D. McKissick is a better buy because he's more the man next up and slide if Curtis needs a blow or Antonio Gibson. But then you reiterated the way the Colts run their offense, and Wentz came in. He's also a kind of dump-off guy that's going to hit the running back, and Hines is the best receiver of the match. He's going to get a lot of burn. Could you kind of compare those two and say why you have a guy higher than the other or so?
Yeah, like you said, last year Hines in that offense was 17th in total points. I mean, he was an RB2. His consistency was only 50%, but you're not going to get much consistency out of a third down back kind of guy like that. But he can be a very good flex player. And I just feel like, that offense, I mean, again, they're playing teams like the Texans, the Titans, who's the other team in that division? Oh, Jacksonville. So there's a lot of bad offenses outside of the Titans. So I feel like they're going to move the ball well, control the ball. Taylor last year showed that, while he's a very good player, he's not a 3-down back. He got hurt. He struggled, at times with being out there and being productive. So, I think that they have a very good team. They're going to be moving the ball a lot. And I feel like Hines, it seems like Frank Reich really likes to use Hines too. I mean, I remember watching some of the games, and even though they were winning and controlling it, they would take out Taylor for a couple series and let Hines not only run the football, but catch the football as well. So, he's a good player. Frank Reich likes to use him in that offense. So again, you can get him as your RB5, maybe 4 or 5. I mean, I think right now it's around round 9, RB40. So, I mean, your RB4 at worst, or at the highest, you got drafted as RB4. I mean, I've drafted him probably in every league I've done so far this summer, just because he's sitting there and I'm like, oh, I need a 4th running back. Why not get Hines? Now, if I had Taylor, it'd probably make more sense because it's a handcuff, but I feel like Marlon Mack is really the handcuff to Taylor, not Hines. Yeah, so sometimes I draft Mack if he's available that late too.
Speaking of boring players that you said nobody's interested in, another one that I saw that I liked, he had over a 70% consistency rate. Brandon Cooks. I feel like a lot of people, with of course the quarterback situation up in the air, but he's a wide receiver 1, and he's not like just he's just the best wide receiver on the team, like wide receiver 1. Like he's a legit wide receiver 1. And I feel like a lot of people don't see that. And, of course, it'll be, I think, not a downfall, but like a downtick in like production with Deshaun Watson out there. But the volume is going to win out, like you said, in the guide. And that's who else is there? Nico Collins, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, Brandon Cooks is going to be the Allen Robinson of Texas.
Yes.
Plain and simple. Bad quarterback, bad team. Got to throw the ball to somebody. Might as well target Brandon Cooks 15 times. And that's what they do with Allen Robinson in Chicago. And I think it's the same scenario. And again, you can get him as your wide receiver, like 40 to 45.
It's crazy.
Come on. Again, another one. In fact, if you go to the undervalued section of the guide, he's one of my 4. And I literally did a draft. What was it? I think it was the July 4th Invitational on SiriusXM with Fantasy Alarm guys. Howard Bender. And I literally took my 3 receivers. I don't remember who they were. 2 very good, 3 good, consistent players. And I literally drafted all 4 of those guys in the late rounds as my backups. I drafted John Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, Brandon Cooks, and Russell Gage.
We think
that's my 4.
Russell Gage was the next player I was going to bring up a lot. Like,
love Gage. Love him.
I with over 100 targets, 71% consistent rate. And Julio just left. I don't understand why he's still like, I don't know, maybe ADP will adjust, but he's still like, I've seen him go pretty low. I'll look up his official ADP, but it's really crazy.
When I updated the guy just a few weeks ago, he was wide receiver 66. That's
I can't name.
I have him 36.
Wide receivers better. Yeah,
I have him as a wide receiver 3 because he was 71% consistent in the 7 games. In the last 7 games, and Jones missed 5 of them.
Yep.
I like Gage, but Gage is your guy, Gabe. But John Brown, I've been getting him everywhere. He can end up being Aguilar and much more for that team.
Absolutely,
he's the number 1, and then I'm also drafting Brian Edwards because he's supposed to be that young stud that can break out in the NFL and wasn't healthy last year. So one of those 2 players, I'm thinking they're going to break out for Oakland. So I love the John Brown pitch right there.
And don't forget about Emmanuel Sanders. He's the number 2 in Buffalo. And if Cole Beasley doesn't get vaccinated or decides to retire, whatever he decides to do, I mean, think how many targets Emmanuel Sanders is going to get in that offense.
Yeah, holy shit. Crazy.
So you're not on the Gabriel Davis bandwagon?
I mean, I like Gabriel Davis. I'm not saying he's not a.
You just got to prove it.
I'm just saying that if Gabriel Davis now becomes the 3 because Beasley's gone, because I think basically, Sanders is going to be the 2, Beasley is the slot 3. Gabriel Davis just fills that role, or maybe they'll move Sanders into the slot, I think, which is the better scenario. But either way, I mean, think how many targets. I mean, remember 2 years ago, John Brown was 85% consistent before Diggs got there. And Sanders has got to be a better receiver than Brown is, and he'll be the number 2, and everybody's going to double team Diggs, and guess who's going to be open live? Yeah. So, again, and you can get him. He's like wide receiver 50. He's basically free too. So a lot of value out there at the late receiver position.
Well, we know a lot of value is at tight end. It's always a toss up. I'm still a believer in if it's not the top 3 weight. I know a lot of people are on the TJ Hawkinson, the Kyle Pitts, the Mark Andrews, but Mark Andrews disappointed me last year also, and I feel like I put a lot of stock in Mark Andrews. I don't know if it was Lamar Jackson or Mark Andrews. I'm not really sure. But either way, he didn't do what we expected him to do. So as far as tight ends go, who is somebody that you think can stand out that's outside of those top 3?
So I'm kind of so the drafts that I've done so far this summer, if I'm drafting the late first, especially if I've got the 1-2 turn, I would take Kelsey at the end of the first round. But more often than not, he doesn't even fall that far. Like I've seen him go as high as 6 and 7 in a straight 1 tight end regular scoring. Still saw Kelsey go that soon, which I get it. I mean, his consistency numbers his consistency numbers puts him as the 3rd best wide receiver, not tight end, wide receiver. Yeah. So he's worth it. I mean, if you're going to do it. But
what is it like? 7,000 yard seasons in a row, something crazy like that?
Yeah, something ridiculous like that. But what I usually have done if I don't do that, like if I'm drafting early and now I'm picking a McCaffrey or somebody, first 4 or 5 picks, obviously Kelsey's gone. At the end of the second round, if Waller falls that far, I might take him there, especially like a 2-3 turn. He definitely puts up the consistent numbers. He's going to catch 100 balls. It's just that's the way Derek Carr looks. But basically after that, I kind of pass on everybody else. And then I'll wait to maybe rounds 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there. And I pick 2 tight ends of these 5. Logan Thomas, Robert Tonyan, Mike Gesicki, Zach Ertz, or Jared Cook. I get 2 of those 5 because all of them have that potential. I got to remember Logan Thomas and Tonyan were 3rd and 4th in total points, and their consistency ranked them in the top 10 as well. And yet you can get these guys in round 9. And again, okay, let's say Aaron Rodgers doesn't play. Well, who do you think Jordan Love's going to look at a lot? I mean, if Devontae's there, he'll be him, but probably you have a safety blanket in Robert Tonyan.
I don't know, man. Because when I looked at Robert Tonyan's stats and I looked at a couple of his games, like he had a lot of big 3 touchdown games, and I think that could skew his stats a little bit. You know what I mean? Though touchdowns, you can't depend on touchdowns, and I feel like he had a lot of touchdowns. He had like 11, right? Some of that.
He had quite a few, yeah
double digit. And so I just think that could be something that could be a booby trap for a lot of people depending on Robert Tonyan to come back, because I'm not sure, what I'm saying, if he's just athletic freak, because I haven't seen nothing that just said, oh, damn, Robert Tonyan pretty good. I saw a lot of touchdowns. So that's just my take on what Robert Tonyan
I get it right, yeah.
I like Thomas too, but I just think last year they had to throw the ball. They had a lot of dump off quarterbacks. I think this year they're going to try to push it downfield a little bit more, and that's going to hurt Thomas. He may see like I don't want to give an actual number, like 0.1, 0.5 less targets per game or something, but I think he's going to get a little drop off. I personally like Gerald Everett because he's going later and he's practically free. And anytime Russell Wilson has a competent tight end, they are always useful, always top 12 when they're healthy and playing. So I like Gerald Everett. I like Everett, and I was wondering your take on New England tight ends. I've been trying to get one of them because
I love them both if they didn't play on the same damn team.
Yeah, that was the most shitty news break of all time. Like
I think one of them is going to lead the team, though, right? Somebody's going to lead the team in targets, and it's going to be one of those tight ends. I feel like they're better than
lead the team with 70 is not that big of a deal. I mean,
that's true.
It's true.
You know, that's the only problem is, again, if one of those two, either one of them, Jonnu or Hunter Henry, was just the only guy, I would be all in. No question about it. But together, I mean, you know, I know it's been, you know, it's the old, it'll be like Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. Well, yeah, that happened once 12 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was. I don't know if Cam has that capability of doing that because let's be honest, they get to the goal line, they're not going to throw it to a tight end. He's running the ball in.
Right.
So
you don't. You think that Cam starts the whole season?
Huh?
You think Cam starts the whole season?
According to
I think it just depends on the wins and losses.
Yep.
You know, if they win enough. I mean, they're still. I mean, Buffalo's a good team, but Miami's still not that great. Jets aren't that great. You know, they could be. You know, if
they still got that defense.
5-5 after 10 games, and they're probably still in the playoff hunt in their damn division. Mm-hmm. I think they'll let him play it out until he gets hurt. You know, and then we see what happens with Mac Jones. But even that, I don't know what Mac Jones' preference going to be. Is he going to, if you remember, New England drafted 2 tight ends, was going to, start both of them. And you saw that
way. I'm a roll tighter. I attend the University of Alabama, but people forget Mac Jones was thrown to a lot of first rounders.
Yeah, right.
Even his linemen were drafted high. Like, are we forgetting? Like, he played on an all-star college team, and similar to Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow was that guy. So
remember, the Browns drafted Johnny Manziel. Just saying. He was really good in college too.
Right. So, we're kind of forgetting that. Like, he's going from the cream of the crop in college to, on that offense, you could be said they're the bottom of the bottom besides tight ends. And I don't know their offensive line like that. But other than that, like, he's going through a whole different scheme.
Yeah, no, it's messy.
So I'm worried.
Got rid of Ben Jones, like the best center in the league. So I know they don't have that.
So anybody that we should be looking at but we're not paying attention to, or the fantasy world that is not paying attention to, that your book said that should be on the radar, or that you personally feel should be on the radar?
I mean, we've talked about most of them.
Okay.
Because we
pretty on track.
But I'm going to throw out one guy that I think a lot of people forget about, especially if you're playing in the, anything with super flex, 2 quarterbacks, that kind of thing. I know you'd mentioned somebody, I forgot who it was now. Late quarterback you liked. Oh, Winston, potentially, before Michael Thomas. But so here, we'll throw this trivia question out to you. This quarterback last year was 14th, so almost QB1, 14th. In both total points and consistency. Who was it?
Everybody is liking Kirk Cousins, and that's who I'm going to go with.
It's not Cousins. But he did have a very good year, but it was not Cousins.
Derek Carr?
Derek Carr.
Yeah, that was my next guess. I just know.
I know, but Superflex. So, like, I'm in a Superflex. I drafted Josh Allen early, in the first round. And now I'm just drafting all my running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends. I'm in like round 9. Derek Carr's still sitting there. And so he'll be my RB2, my quarterback 2. If he can end up 14th again in points in consistency, that's just golden in a 2 QB scenario. And again, this is somebody you mentioned, somebody that nobody's talking about, nobody's paying attention to. It's a weird situation because it is that, another one too is Tom Brady. Last year when he had both Evans and Godwin on the field, he was 75% consistent. Now he wasn't that for the year, but you can draft him in round 7 or 8 as your quarterback. So why not?
Another one I like is David Johnson, 60 He was 60% consistent last year on the year. And I think I just don't know
Lindsey
how I
don't
feel about
scare
them
you?
trying to pick up every running back that is ever a free agent. That was kind of weird, but
Well, and that's gonna be so much based on how the quarterback does, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or whatever they end up with.
I like David Mills. That's also a person that I feel like everybody should like draft and like if you especially super flex, like because like once they realize that David Mills is, I mean not David, that Tyrod Taylor is not the guy, or he gets like randomly hit with a needle back in the back, you know what I mean?
Somebody sticks a needle in his lung again,
for sure. I feel like they drafted David Mills high enough to where they will at least want to see what they have before next year.
Oh yeah, and they will. Oh yeah, they won't give Tyrod Taylor that much time.
Tyrod Taylor, I looked at the stats. He's not a guy like who's going to lose you the game. He's not going to win you the game either because he doesn't turn the ball over. He's he's a player that stays within himself. You know what I'm saying? He knows so. If Houston is in the game and they maybe win a couple, I can see Taylor just striking on and staying starter because he's not going to lose. If he didn't get if the LA doctors didn't puncture him in his lung, he would probably started the whole year for the Chargers. But
they knew that.
That's exactly why they stabbed him.
They knew that. They said, not on my watch. Not so fast. I do think that though, because they, like I said, man, I don't think because Tyrod Taylor's not going to lose in the game. That Houston defense is going to lose in the game, and so there's going to be nothing that Tyrod can do at that point.
Well, and hence why I'm telling everybody to draft Brandon Cooks.
One more thing with Derek Carr during the Scott Fish Bowl, a lot of people was like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, target them late, and I was like, I like Matt Ryan over Kirk Cousins. They were basically similar in stats last year in every each way. And I was like, it's a go get your guy. So I drafted Matt Ryan instead of Kurt. Yeah. But a lot of people were saying get Carr. He doesn't have the prettiest offense, but he doesn't make bad decisions.
Right. Because of the -4 INT. I think he was 7th last year in that scoring in quarterback.
But my worry is, I mean, they're going to be playing from behind a lot, but the offensive line, that doesn't worry you at all.
Yeah, but you know how many games he's missed in the last 5 years?
Okay. And he never had an offensive line, I think. He always ran for his life.
Yeah, he's always running for it. It's the only way he knows how to play.
That's scary. That's a scary way to play.
300-pound men running at you, but stop it. I could never play quarterback. You know, that's one thing people need to think about. Like fans, you be in the bar, they be like, what the quarterback doing? Why not? Like, then you sit there and think about, let's simulate this real quick.
Yeah.
6'6" guys at 330 running at you like this. Right. You gonna throw that pigskin up too. Huh.
One of the last things on the guide I want to talk about is the rookies. You know what I'm saying? There's always hype around the rookies every year. It's always somebody going to be the rookie running back one or something crazy. Right. You know, break out of the mode. And, you know, your consistency guys goes on with telling, you know, of course, the breakdown of actually how potential it is for rookies to actually break out that mode. Of course, we got a couple up to bat this year. Kyle Pitts, of course, everybody, of course, I say he better be this generational talent that everybody say he is, because the Falcons just went out and drafted a tight end at the top 5 pick. Listen, but I don't want to get it started on that because good
he
vibes
wanted
on
Justin Fields.
I wanted we could have traded down. Don't take a tight end in the top 4 picks. Like, how often do we get to be there? Or we might be there a lot now, you know. That's how pretty much I feel like that.
Chill with that energy. Chill with that energy.
But like as far as the rookies, like Kyle Pitts, one of my favorite rookies that I like this year is Michael Carter, and I feel like he's going a lot lower than a lot of the other rookie running backs, and I just don't understand that. I seen Trey Sermon go before him in a couple drafts. I did. I've always seen Javonte Williams go before him, and I think Michael Carter clearly has the easiest path to volume right now, and I just don't. I want to know how do you feel about these rookie running backs? If you have another running back you're looking at.
Well, you know, like you said, so I do this thing every year, and the guide is on page 9 for those of you who have your guide on open at home. And you can see
I do actually.
Good. And you know, so let's start with Kyle Pitts. So since 2010. There have been 84 tight ends drafted in the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft. 84. Only 2
That's so
have
sick.
ever been over 60% consistent in their rookie season. It is not Travis Kelce, Gronk, Ertz, Waller, Kittle. It's Evan Ingram and Jordan Reed. That's it.
Wow.
In 10 years. Now, I'm not saying Kyle Pitts won't be number 3.
But slim chance.
But the numbers show that 98% of the tight ends who have been drafted, and there were 9 first rounders, by the way, maybe not number 4 overall, but 9 first rounders, and only 2 made 6. That's 60% consistency. That's not 100. That's not 90. That's not. In fact, if you look at in the guy, let me look. Evan Ingram was 73, and Jordan Reed was 67.
Yep.
So
wasn't nothing crazy. Wasn't nothing crazy
for that. So I will not own any shares of Kyle Pitts unless it's a dynasty league. And that's what the other thing too is like dynasty versus redraft. So I'm going to focus on redraft because that's what this is about. Running backs, wide receivers. I mean, all of those. I think the running backs always seem to be the generational talent that are going to the right team with the right situation. Zeke, Barkley, we've seen all of them. That doesn't mean that that others won't be successful. It just means that it's usually that way. So, I would think if anybody has the best opportunity to be over 60% consistent this year at running back, I'm going to go with Najee Harris just because he's got the starting job in Pittsburgh. Now that's not saying that Michael Carter won't have the starting job in the Jets. Could certainly be that. I mean, if you look at the list, page 11 for those of you keeping track at home, for every Barkley, Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, Alvin Kamara, Todd Gurley, there's Eddie Lacy, Doug Martin, Alfred Morris, T.J. Yeldon, Trent Richardson. There are certainly guys because my thought is that those players came into that team with the opportunity and the potential and the talent, and they made it work their first season. Did they make it work after that? Not a chance in hell. But that's where I see guys that like a Carter who might be starting for the Jets, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams is maybe one of the better running backs, but if Melvin Gordon doesn't go away, Williams isn't going to get anything out of it. So that's what I look at. I mean, I usually don't draft rookies too high. Wide receivers are even more difficult because very often, very rarely are they coming in as number 1. I mean, even Jamar Chase, has got to compete with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. I mean, that's a lot of competition for targets. Not saying that they won't have them because the Bengals defense is horrible and Joe Burrows is going to be throwing 50 times a game. If he can stay alive, so there is potential there, but, so he could go over, certainly last year we had Justin Jefferson, had what everybody says was a huge year, but yet he was only 63% consistent. He barely made it. And that was only because he had that great second half. So again, it's very tough. Yeah. It's very tough for rookies to get to that 60% consistency, which is what you're looking for, in your first, year to be basically viable to be on your starting fantasy lineup. So that's what the numbers say. I just tell people, look at the numbers. I'm not judging. I'm not saying don't draft rookies. Just saying, look at the numbers before you make that high pick for a rookie that you're really going to count on your fantasy team.
So Bob Long is not taking Najee Harris with the 205 pick in a redraft league.
Probably not.
That sounds like mixed in. It's still a couple guys to be there. I wouldn't need it. Third round, I'd be with it.
So I just updated these today. Where's my running back group? Here we go. So, right around 205, I mean, you're looking at guys like CEH, Chris Carson, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins.
I'm in love with J.K.
So no, I'm probably not going to take Najee Harris, but I wouldn't argue somebody if they said they were. Like, hey, I'm going to take Najee Harris as my RB2. Okay, yeah. I mean, again, if you're if you want to take it, like I said, if you're going to draft, so 205 is what, 107. So, if you get a Jonathan Taylor that falls to you or a Nick Chubb that falls to you at 7, take Najee Harris as your RB2. I see no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's your decision whether you want to do that or go David Montgomery or, maybe somebody else is there, Chris Carson, that's a little more proven. But, hey, Najee Harris, maybe maybe do very, very well. But got to remember, the Steelers' offensive line is not very good.
Yeah, I think everybody's remembering like what the old Steelers look like, and they just think like, oh, he's going to be the bell cow running back.
Right,
there.
He's going to be the next Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, but if you see how patient Le'Veon Bell was behind the line, that's because he had 10 seconds before he had to make a decision on which hole.
Right, because he had an offensive line that was moving people around.
Exactly. So that's one of the things. That's one of my ticks on Najee. Well, I got him in a lot of dynasty, of course, just because I think he's a great talent.
Absolutely, sure.
But redraft, I probably won't have any Najee. I'll probably just let him.
I hear you. No, I agree.
Let me see. Any other player, any other rookie that you want to talk about, that you want to mention, that you think the people should not draft?
None of them. Like I said, I mean, so here's my only thought on the Javonte Williams thing is that I feel very confident that Melvin Gordon gets traded before the end of September, especially if Denver starts out poorly, because his contract's going to be up. There, my first thought right away was, oh, look, guess who the Rams should probably trade for?
Exactly.
Because why would you not? You have a team that's got a good, solid potential for playoffs. Maybe not Super Bowl, but playoffs for sure. You got to go forward with Darrell Henderson, maybe. Too. But if I could trade off a draft pick and get Melvin Gordon as my starting running back there with Stafford and them, I'd do it if I'm the Rams. Especially if you're going to give the Broncos enough to make it worth their while. They're rebuilding. I mean, Melvin Gordon is not their future. There's no reason for him to be on that team if they can get, a decent, if they can get a third, whatever you would get for somebody that age as a rental player. But,
it's so crazy that we say somebody that age, he's like 28 or something crazy. That's so wild.
Right. Yeah. And Gordon isn't that old.
Running back.
Yeah. It seems like he's been around forever. But so like, again, he's another guy that I've been drafted as my RB3 so many leagues. Because I'm like, if he does play, they're going to give him the ball. If he gets traded, he could get even more opportunity, especially if he goes to somebody like the Rams. And who knows what else, whether injuries may happen. But I feel like, he may start in Denver in week 1. I don't think he's there at the end of September, at worst, end of October.
Hot take. I like it. I ain't even think about that.
Yeah. So, and then Javonte Williams becomes a great pick. But he's going, again, it depends on whether you redraft or dynasty.
Going in the 5th round.
If I'm drafting dynasty, though, I think I'd be drafting Javonte maybe even ahead of Najee Harris. Or if it's like if I'm right there and I'm kind of deciding, because here's the other problem with dynasty wise for Najee Harris. Big Ben's going to die soon. It could be next year. It could be the year after.
Yeah.
They don't have a quarterback worth it. I mean, whether it's Mason Rudolph or Duck Dynasty or whatever that guy's name was, they don't have a quarterback. And if they don't have a quarterback and their line's terrible, Najee Harris does nothing. Now, if you have Javonte Williams in Denver that's on the grow together with whether it's Locke or whoever they're going to move forward with, they got Courtland Sutton, they've got, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, they've got Noah Fant. They've got a team that's moving forward with youth. He's going to be there. That team is going to stay together for a while. That team in 3-5 years could be very productive. They have to move the ball because they're in with Kansas City and the Chargers and everybody else. Right now, I don't do a lot of dynasty, but I really like Javonte Williams as a dynasty guy. In fact, I'm doing a dynasty draft tomorrow, and I think I have 4th pick. So I may have to come into that decision. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Speaking of drafts, man, we got the session takeover 2 coming up. I think the draft starts on like the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. The support and the love that it then got this year, I think we definitely doubled. Like we came into it thinking we were gonna come in with like 6 leagues. That'll be 3 on one side, 3 on the other. So what's that, 72? And then we shot past 72 very, very quickly.
Nice.
So I think
Good for you.
we're probably gonna, and that's not even like with us in the league. So we probably want to go ahead and reserve us some spots too. I keep telling, I already paid, so I don't know what they're gonna do if it gets out. So yeah, so I want to thank you for like you said, donating that fantasy football guy. Everybody that's paid already has a copy of it, so they probably have been watching along as we've been going through. So I want to shout out to
you. Well, I'm glad we can help, and I appreciate you guys doing this. I think it's a great cause. We all have to. It's just a good thing.
It's a sick world out there. 229, I think, has been death since last year, since George Floyd, just something like that by police. It's really crazy.
Yeah, and and it's weird because it was something as I was looking at your guys' pictures that you guys have up with the the Black Lives Matters and stuff, and I said the amazing thing is that when we all get together at this party on Saturday night at the Expo, that the nationalities, the race, the sexuality, whatever, there's going to be such a mix, and yet none of us will look at each other any differently because we're all there for one reason: talk fantasy football, talk fantasy sports, enjoy that time, enjoying our arguments, our takes, our facts, or whatever. And yet, wouldn't it be great if the whole world could be like that, where we could just all, hey, we're all on the same team, we're all doing the same thing, we all love what we're doing, talking about it, enjoying it, and we don't look at race, religion, sexuality, whatever.
I think the best way to do it,
and it's just so. That's what I think makes this community so cool.
Yeah. I think the best way to do it is just cause awareness to it, because I've talked to a lot of people that don't even know that's going on. You know what I mean? Because they're so, not that they just don't know, they're just so far away from it. If you don't see it every day, then it's like, oh, well, that doesn't really happen. Like, of course, you might hear it on social media, you might, whatever, it's just background noise on the TV. But if you don't there, so I feel like it's just a good way to just bring attention, even if they just see it a couple times and just tell their friends, but just do something.
Yeah, like that. Like speaking on that's what I was telling somebody. Even if the people don't join, they seen what's going on, they read the message, and even for even for the people who join, a friend might be like, "Hey, what you doing over there?" "Oh, I'm checking my Black Lives Matter league. I'm in this league with this person. Did you know this happened to this person?" And it's just reach one, teach one, and that's what we're doing, and we're very fortunate that we can use our platform, to do this. To start off, this is nothing we would ever fathom that we can donate $600, and now this year we're going to be able to donate over $1,000 to an organization.
Yeah, that's great.
I never thought our platform would be able to do that. So we're very thankful, and just everybody who's just tuned in, just even if they have too many leagues, we had a couple people like, I want to pay for somebody. I want to pay for somebody.
I don't understand that either.
It's not a phrase. It's not a phrase that I've ever said. Ask my wife. Trust me.
I'm not gonna lie though. I did mess up last year, and I probably was in way too many leagues because I literally lost the championship because in one of my leagues, I seen myself see it there, and I was like, all right, come back. We're gonna do it before the season, because I was probably answering questions or something. Sam Darnold was left on the bench in the playoffs with Sam Darnold was left in the starting lineup because the week before Tom Brady had a bye week. So whatever that week, but Tom Brady had a bye week, I took him out. And I forgot to put Tom Brady back in. And I think that's the week he played the Falcons, I want to say. And so I lost.
Ouch.
So yeah, there's that.
I'm sure I've done that before too. I'm not gonna lie. I think I was in, 35 last year, probably being even more this year, because I don't say no. Hey, we got a new charity, we're gonna do this. Oh, sure, I'm in. I just,
as long as they keep it to one or two platforms, that's what messes me up. If they're not all on Sleeper or all on ESPN, I gotta jump to ESPN.
I'm on Sleeper, MFL, ESPN, Yahoo, CBS.
NFL Network.
I'm not sure there's one I'm not on.
Yeah,
Even on like RTS Sports. I do a Dynasty one on RTS Sports.
Yeah, nice. See, that's where I would get. That's where I'm gonna mess up at. If I gotta start moving all of it around,
I have them all saved in a folder, and I just go down one by one by one. Every Thursday to check any Thursday night games, and then on Saturday night or Sunday morning, I just go right through them. Check. Now, granted, a lot of them are MFL, so that's real easy to do. And of course, I kind of prioritize which ones I'm checking first to make sure. Like my Kings Classic leagues, my big ones. But yeah, I want to win them all. People are like, "Oh, do you just not care about the other ones?" No, I want to win everything. I'm very competitive. There's not one thing that I'm gonna, I'm not gonna just ignore a league just because it's a league. Hell, I want to win too.
I like it better just having multiple leagues just because I can draft differently. Like, oh well, I drafted too many Julio.
With all the different scoring,
let me come there. I drafted way too much. Julio. Let me go ahead and draft AJ Brown or something like that. Yeah.
To combat that issue next year, we're thinking of doing a smaller best ball league for all the people just want to draft.
I think that's I don't like best ball. I like I like it, but I like the authentic way of setting my lineup every week, going to the waivers. I like the whole I like that. You know what I mean?
When you win some money, all best ball, and all you doing is drafting one time, you gonna like it.
Maybe I'm just not winning. Maybe that's the problem.
We won't want to take up too much of your time. We're very thankful you was here to join us.
3 weeks.
You are a friend of the shows.
I appreciate that.
We're on our third year, not our third year. You've been on the show for 2 of those years, and we look forward to you coming back next year and talking about what has changed on the guide and what we need to look out for. Because last year you helped me because I stayed away from Russell Wilson, and it helped, man.
Duval won his first championship last year. Everybody give him a
all right, good man.
Hey, don't worry about me. I'm out here.
Well, what's the where can they find the tickets at for the Fantasy Football Expo? Again, just one more time.
It's real simple. Just go to the Ohio State University, the fantasyfootballexpo.com, and just click on buy tickets. If you're going to come for the whole weekend, which we highly recommend you do, so you can come to the party Saturday night. Come to the draft night out, guys. They're on Saturday during the day from noon to 4 at the hotel. You get a ticket to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You can go and tour it. And here's the cool thing. If you don't get a chance to go to the Hall of Fame, the tickets there's no expiration date.
Man.
Go another time.
That's one of the biggest things I'm excited about.
But like you said, party Expo's on Sunday from 10 to 4. One of the cool things that I really haven't talked as a lot about because I'm still waiting to lock in the exact kind of players, I'll call them, is that starting at 10 o'clock at the Expo, we're calling it the pregame event, even though it's kind of the start of the event. But the goal is that, the Kings Classic, which is bringing all the top guys in the country in for the draft at the Hall of Fame, they're all going to be there. So our goal is the next morning that we're going to kind of have a Mount Rushmore of the best on stage for at least an hour. And right now it'd probably be guys like Brad Evans, Andy Behrens, Mike Clay, Bob Harris, Michael Fabiano, Mike Taglier, Marcus Grant from NFL. I mean, all of the big names. My goal is that we're going to put them on stage. I'll be the MC asking, just simple questions, bus sleepers, kind of thing. Guys that they're, kind of what you asked about, people that we're not talking about but should be. And then just basically take questions from the audience because it's an opportunity you're never going to have. You're never going to have all these guys together in one stage right in front of you. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure there'll be a lot of trash talking between them. They're pretty bad. They're pretty rough about it. Trust me, I've sat in these Kings Classic drafts. Is brutal. Nobody is safe. But it's going to be a good time. So, again, once I get the locked in of these guys will be there for it. But pretty much most of them can. It's just really about their schedules and travel. I think Mike Clay won't make it because he's got to fly out like 8 a.m. on Sunday to get back to ESPN in Connecticut. But again, the goal is to basically put the best of the best on the stage for an hour, and then kind of kicks off the whole event. And then the Expo will be going till 4, and sure we'll do something Sunday night. Probably drink a lot. I'll be drinking a lot because it'll be over and I'll probably relax.
I got you. Well, we're definitely. I know. We're definitely gonna find you. Come shake your hand. And I know we're going to be able to find you.
Give you a shirt. I want to give you one. I want to give you. I know I promised a shirt last time, but
okay.
I gotta remember. I heard it in the episode. I said, "Damn, I never sent that damn shirt." All right, so I'm gonna personally drive how many ever miles it is. What is like 600? It's still gonna take us like 10 hours. We're taking.
Where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Atlanta. Yep.
Gotcha.
Take a road trip. We tried to get some plane tickets, man. It's so crazy. The plane tickets are wild.
Well, if you're gonna fly into Cleveland, it's only an hour south. But it's probably still expensive. I mean, prices are way up this summer. I know a lot of people got their tickets early, and I think that benefited them. Somebody said they were coming from Texas or something for only $200 round trip. I was like, they said they bought them in like February or something, right after we announced or maybe it was March or April, right after we announced the thing. They locked in their tickets, so they did okay. But yeah, it's crazy. We're gonna have a great time. Lots of even surprises that we haven't talked about yet that people are going to kind of have to get to see. So that'll be fun.
They get the whole what's it called? The itinerary list on the website too, and all that good
stuff. So the website has the itinerary for the actual expo, not like the draft night outs and all that yet. But basically, if you register, I'm going to start. Once again, I get everything kind of fine tuned. Then I'll start emailing out like, hey, if you're coming for the weekend, here's where we're going to be Friday. Here's where we're going to be Saturday during the day.
Okay.
So people will have it before they get there. So they can kind of decide if they want to go to the hall first or they want to do this first or do the draft night out and that kind of stuff. But basically the big ones are the expo and the party. Those are the two things you do not want to miss. And there's nothing else going on during those things. So definitely be at those.
Nice. Can't wait.
Shout out to Rumboy and Stephanie. They're gonna be hosting.
Oh yeah, did you see on Twitter? Him and I were hanging out.
Yeah. I saw. We have a little group chat, so he posted it to our group chat for sure.
Yeah. My wife's relatives lives out in Colorado Springs, and I go, you live out there? Here, he lives like literally 5 miles from my wife's relative's house.
Nice.
So he just came down the road, picked me up. We went over and had a couple beers together and talked about things. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look how it's like stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You never see these people, then just you see them. It's like, oh man, I've been talking to you for like 3 years. It's so crazy that it's almost like I know you.
My middle daughter used to live in Atlanta, so if she was still living down there, I'm sure we probably would have hung out too. But it's cool if you go out of town. I mean, all you got to do is say, "Hey, I'm going here," and 10 people pop up and go, "Hey, I live here."
I can't wait, man. I got to know Bob on a different level and within the chat. Going back to the Man League, we damn near used to talk every day in the chat. We just talk life and what we used to do. Like we were just talking hip hop music, Atlanta music in the 2000s, and Bob knew everything. We're like, Bob, how you know that? Bob's like, oh, I was a DJ. Like,
for 35 years.
So I can't wait, man. It's gonna be a blast. I know I'm gonna be able to find you, Bob. I'm just gonna. You'll be
able to find me. I'll be probably at the center of everything, trying to make sure everything's going smooth. But
head spinning.
I'll be there. I'm sure you'll find me.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for having me, and we'll see you here in a few weeks.
Yeah, man. Let's see the show.
I like you. Good show.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right.
Hey, Bob.